All right, let's just jump right into one of the most incredible, most unbelievable true stories to come out of World War II. It's a story that sounds like it's straight out of a Hollywood movie, but I promise you, every bit of it is real. It's about a spy whose greatest weapon wasn't a gun, it was a lie. A lie so big, it changed the course of history. So, you gotta picture this. It's the height of the war. Nazi Germany is convinced they have this absolute gem of an asset, an ace in the hole operating deep inside Britain. They believed he was their most effective, most valuable spy in the entire country.
And get this, it wasn't just him. The Germans thought he was this master spy master, running a whole web of 27 different agents, all of them supposedly feeding him critical intel from every corner of the British Isles. The scale of it was just huge.
And the Nazis, they trusted him completely. I mean, absolutely. His reports weren't just getting filed away in some dusty cabinet. No way. This stuff was going straight to the very top. We're talking about the Nazi high command reading his every word and making major decisions based on it. But here is the kicker, the twist that turns this entire story on its head. The agents, they didn't exist. The network, a complete and total fabrication. The whole thing was a lie. And their most trusted spy was actually working for the Allies. So, who was this guy? Who was the mastermind behind this incredible deception? Well, let's meet him. And trust me, he is not who you would expect. His name was Juan Pujol García. And he wasn't some suave James Bond type. Not even close. He had no military background, no spy school, nothing. He was a hotel manager, a chicken farmer, for crying out loud. Just a totally ordinary guy. You see, Pujol had developed this deep, burning hatred for fascism. He was desperate to do something, anything, to stop the Nazis. So he did the logical thing. He went to the British and said, "Hey, I want to be a spy for you." And you know what they did? They turned him down. So he tried again, and they rejected him again. They just looked at this guy and thought, what could he possibly do? But Pujol was not going to take no for an answer. He basically thought, okay, fine. If the British won't hire me to fool the Nazis, I'll get the Nazis to hire me first, and then I'll go back to the British. I mean, the sheer audacity of that plan is just mind-blowing. And that's exactly what he did. He convinced German intelligence he was their man, and they told him to go to London to start spying. Except, he never went. Not at all. He set up his entire operation from an apartment in Lisbon, Portugal, and he was faking all his intelligence reports using nothing more than a tourist guidebook, a map of Britain, and old train schedules. And from that little apartment, he started inventing his team. His own ghost army. He dreamed up this whole cast of characters, right? There was a disgruntled sailor who gave him naval secrets, a fiery Welsh nationalist who led a band of radicals, a government clerk who just couldn't keep his mouth shut. Every single one had their own backstory, their own personality. And he just kept going, one agent, then another, until he was managing this completely imaginary network of 27 different spies. He even billed the Germans for their expenses, and they paid up for every single one of his made-up agents. So Pujol's one-man show was so convincing that eventually the British had to take notice. They started intercepting German intelligence that could only have come from a spy inside Britain, but a spy who was getting things just slightly and very cleverly wrong. It was MI5, the British counterintelligence service, that started connecting the dots. They're seeing these German reports that are incredibly specific, but also subtly inaccurate. They realized someone was feeding the Germans this perfect mix of truth and fiction. And when they followed the breadcrumbs, they finally found their man, Juan Pujol. Now, you'd think they'd arrest him, right? Nope. They realized they had a genius on their hands. They immediately brought him over to Britain, for real this time, and officially made him a double agent. They gave him the code name Garbo. Yep, after the famous actress Greta Garbo, because he was, quite simply, the best actor in the world. And now, the real show was about to begin. And what a show it was. Garbo wasn't just going to be some minor player. No, he was about to become the star of the single most important deception of the entire war, Operation Fortitude, the master plan to protect the D-Day landings. Okay, so here's the deal.
The Allies are planning this huge invasion of Normandy, but for it to succeed, they have to fool Hitler about where they're actually going to land. This is where Garbo and his fake network become absolutely crucial. They start bombarding the Germans with hundreds of detailed messages about a fictional army preparing to invade at Pas-de-Calais. And Hitler? He bought it, hook, line, and sinker. He kept his best panzer divisions waiting there, far, far away from Normandy. Now, think about this. Even on the morning of D-Day, as Allied troops are hitting the beaches, Garbo's job isn't over. He sends this frantic, urgent message to his German handlers, essentially screaming, "Normandy is a diversion. It's a fake-out to draw your troops away. The real attack is still coming at Calais." It was so convincing that Hitler refused to move his best troops to Normandy for critical weeks, giving the Allies the precious time they needed to establish a foothold. Garbo's deception was an absolute home run, a spectacular success. It saved thousands, maybe tens of thousands of lives, and may very well have secured the entire Allied victory in Normandy. But the end of his story, well, that's maybe the most ironic part of it all. Because for all his invaluable intelligence work, which directly led to Germany's catastrophic strategic blunder, Garbo was personally awarded the Iron Cross by Hitler. The Germans went to their graves believing he was their greatest spy. And at the very same time, for the very same work, the British made him a member of the Order of the British Empire. He's one of the only people in history to be decorated by both warring sides in World War II for doing the exact same thing. The story of Garbo is just this incredible reminder that history isn't always shaped on the battlefield. It's often shaped in the shadows by the quietest forces. It really makes you think, doesn't it? One ordinary man with nothing but his imagination fooled an entire empire. It just proves that sometimes the most powerful weapon of all is a